So I did my bachelor's from San Jose State University in California, knowing that I wanted to do journalism. So I studied journalism from there, and which had a pretty good program. The best part of that program was that they had a daily paper. Initially, you start as a reporter. It's a course. It's like a 1 semester long course, and you're a reporter basically. And you have to do 33 stories during the course of that semester. And it's divided according to different categories. So you have to do a minimum of 3 sports stories. You have to do a minimum of 3 opinion pieces. You have to do a minimum of 3 arts and entertainment stories, and you have to do at least 20 or 21 news stories. So once I did that, it was the biggest learning experience I've ever had in my life. My writing from the beginning to the end, it was the difference of night and day. After graduating from college over there, I worked for a music magazine. It was called Rum Magazine. In fact, I had been interning there throughout or at least halfway through my college years. And then after I graduated, they hired me as an editorial assistant. I did that for about 3 years. In 2008, the financial crisis that came, that really hit the magazine really hard. At that point, my magazine was thinking of, letting people go. And before that happened, I thought, you know what, before I'm let go, I might as well just, consider my options, right? And one of the options was that I come back to Pakistan. I knew that the future of journalism in whatever form was on the web. And I got an opportunity to work with Dawn.com. I worked with Dawn for about 2 years. And that was a great experience. We were basically doing stories on the web. We were editing wire stories. I wasn't doing a lot of reporting per se. It was good for a while, but then after a couple of years, I felt that I wanted to do a lot more. I wanted to actually cover topics and stories that aren't being covered. And then the Newsline opportunity came around, and I went for that. How did I find the journalism scene in Pakistan? Yeah, it was very different. Obviously, there's the language difference right off the bat. You're dealing with people in language that you haven't been fluent in for a long time. Also, there's clearly, obviously, a cultural difference, right? In Western journalism follows pretty set ethics. Initially, when I moved back here, I worked at a paper, the Express Tribune. We were editing stories that were coming from Sakkar and Peshawar and all kinds of these places. And obviously, you can't expect their language to be as fluent. And editing those stories, sometimes I found that we couldn't understand half the story that was written. We didn't know what the guy was saying, but we were just assuming what he might have said, and we were printing that as if that's, the truth. The audience we had in America was clearly very well informed. So there were some certain things when I was writing a story that I could just assume that those people knew. Whereas when you're writing about politics, and in Pakistan, where education is not that widespread, you need to explain things a little more here and there. I'm thinking about what people want to know, what I think they should know, what I think is important that people know, and I want to make sure that people get the facts. Because there's something I feel in Pakistan that there's a lot of agendas when it comes to journalism. People are writing from different agendas. They're trying to tell a story in a certain way. Whereas, as from my training, I've been taught to basically tell the facts, which is basically what journalism is. Taking the facts and telling people what the facts are. The problem I have in doing journalism in Pakistan right now is that the organizations I've worked for have never really given us the resources to do journalism the way it should be done. They don't give you the resources to travel, to go to different parts and cover topics that need to be covered. They don't give you the equipment that you need. The basic things that you need to do, that you need to do journalism in Pakistan, is still lacking in most media organizations, especially in print. In television and broadcast, you still have opportunities to go and do these things. But in print especially, there's very little, almost no resources by most organizations to go and do that kind of journalism. To be a journalist, there's one thing you really do need. You want to be curious. You want to have this passion for the truth. I mean, the role of journalism in society is to make those in power feel accountable to what they're doing. That if they're doing something, they should explain why they're doing it, how they're doing it, and be basically answerable to the people. Basically, curiosity, passion for the truth, and maybe perhaps a passion for telling stories. Average day in the life of a reporter. Firstly, it depends on what kind of reporter you are, what your role is in the organization. But as a through and through reporter, basically your job will be to get the story. If there's a story out there that your editor says that this is a story, I want you to find out what's going on with it. For example, covering a bomb blast is the simplest story you can do over here. Fine, it's dangerous and everything sometimes, but basically you have to go there. You have to talk to people around who saw it, who experienced it. You have to talk to officials who have information about it. So as a reporter, you'll be spending a lot of time just running around, talking to people, getting the facts. And then once you've got the facts, then you sit down and write it. So it's actually kind of a fun day. It's better than sitting behind a desk all day looking at a computer screen. For most part, as a reporter, you'll be out in the field. You'll be out somewhere in areas you've never been before, or you never thought you'd ever be in before. So in that respect, it's a pretty exciting job, or can be a very exciting job. Your qualifications as such don't matter, because what we're looking for is good writers and who have good news sense. That is something you can get without going to journalism school, but obviously it's better if you've been through the whole process of going to getting a mass communication degree, because you have a pretty solid foundation. There are a lot of people out there who may not have studied journalism, but they've studied political science, or they've studied history, and they have the writing skills to back that up. And if you have the right writing skills, strong language skills, in the print environment, that's what we're looking for. If you look at the companies that exist right now, initially the compensation won't be really great. I mean, your average sub-editor position goes for you'll get probably 30 to 35,000 rupees a month, and then there's room to grow. That depends on the organization you work for, right? These organizations in Pakistan generally don't give you a lot of opportunity to climb the ladder. In my experience, I felt that once you get into a position, it's really hard to climb up in that same organization. So what people do is lateral movement. So they go from one organization to another, and that's how they climb the ladder. So in 5 years, I would imagine if your work is decent and you've shown an aptitude for certain things, you can do really well. The pros are that it's an interesting job. It's exciting. It comes with a certain amount of danger too in Pakistan, but I think if you're a journalist, you kind of feed off that risk, you feed off that danger, you kind of brag about it here and there sometimes. You're doing something that's really important and vital for society. You're covering stories that need to be told. You're telling society that these are our problems and that need to be fixed, or these are things that are going wrong. That's the pro, that you're serving society in a really real way. The one reason I also chose journalism was because I'm by nature kind of a shy person. I'm what most people would call an introvert. I need to do something that forces me to put myself out there. And when there's a deadline and your editor's screaming at you and you have to just go talk to people, it forces you to challenge things about yourself. It's dangerous and it doesn't pay well. So I don't think any cons need to be any more. So in journalism in Pakistan, there's a lot of pressure from political groups. Everybody's vying for their version of events being told. So there is that element, and you have to take the pressure. If you're doing journalism with a clean intent, then you just have to absorb that pressure and just tell the story like it is. I think initially the best thing to do is get a taste for what it is. To go work intern in an organization, whether it's Dawn, whether it's Newsline, whether it's Herald. I think you need to get a taste of what it's like to work in a media organization. They'll obviously put you to work doing some kind of story. And then you'll get an idea of what the process is like. You will have to go there, you'll have to talk to people, you'll have to ask the right questions. So I think getting a taste of what you want to do, and see if you actually want to do that. Sometimes you have an idea of that you want to be a journalist because it sounds romantic, it sounds great. You sort of get a reality check of what it's going to be like to be a journalist. So I think, again, getting a taste of it is your first step. One thing I would add is, if you're a journalist and you want to be a good journalist, there are certain things I think you should be doing or should have started doing from the beginning. You want to be aware of what's going on in the world. And so you should read the paper. You should read different blogs. You should watch the news. And reading a lot, because actually reading at the end of the day is what's going to improve your writing. And especially, and very importantly, reading opinions or listening to opinions that don't agree with yours. That's the whole purpose of journalism. Take different points of view, get to the truth, and have a civil discourse about things.